Welcome to Get Real America.
Good Thursday morning. I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
And welcome to Get Real America, where we are giving you the entire iceberg, not just the tip.
Yes, and there is a lot of stuff going on in Savannah. Elections are hot and heavy here, Bill.
Well, they are. The governor was here. He was actually for an extended stay because it was a groundbreaking day before yesterday for the new Hyundai electric car plant. Woohoo! Send up a flare. That's going to be being built over in Bryan County. That's a $5.5 billion project, the largest ever in the state of Georgia. And so they're going to be manufacturing electric cars over there that will get you, 50 miles to a charge or whatever it is. Glad to hear it. And batteries will be manufactured there as well. So it's going to be a huge facility. I think they said something like 11 buildings.
That's
are going to be part of it, and hiring somewhere in the range or employing somewhere in the range once it's fully up and running, over 8,000 people. So that's a big deal.
Yes, it is. And, we were able to talk to a couple of our Congress people yesterday, and one of the things that someone said and it was Petrie, and something that he said that really resonated with me was, they're going to tell you sometimes that I vote liberally, but he's like, honestly, if something is good for the people, I will vote for it. And I think we need to ask more questions of our representatives and ask, okay, I'm against this. Why did you vote for it? Or why would you vote for it? I think it's good to ask those questions because they might have some different insight than we're able to get as the general public. So I just kind of want to throw that out there because that was an eye-opener for me last night. Mm-hmm. So I want to thank Petrie for throwing that out there to me.
State Representative Jesse Petrie, and we'll have that for you. We'll have an interview with Jesse coming up next week, along with State Representative Ron Stevens, not only about the governor being here, because he was also stumping on the campaign trail as we're less than 12 days away from Election Day. And he spoke to two groups yesterday, one at the Forest City Gun Club and then later at the Palmetto Club at the Landings.
Yes, he's doing 3 events a day, Bill. That's exhausting. We do an hour a day, and I'm like of talking, so I can't even imagine.
Well, we're going to show you the governor's remarks that he made at the Forest City Gun Club yesterday to the crowd there and the fundraiser that they were having. Also, there was a debate last night between Henry McMaster, the governor of South Carolina, and the gentleman
Cunningham.
Yeah, yes. Joe Cunningham, who was running against him. Joe Cunningham was the first district congressman in South Carolina. Nancy Mace defeated him in the last election to take that seat, and hopefully Nancy gets reelected against the witch that she's running against, who performs sex change operations. I
can't even believe that. Well, he actually sounded like a Republican last night, the Cunningham. I was actually very surprised. He was talking about getting rid of the income tax, which I thought was an interesting.
He must know where the bread's buttered or something along those lines. He's got to say something because I have no respect for him because when I was doing a radio talk show, when he got elected, almost from the time he got elected until he left office, we begged him to come on the air with us. No, didn't beg, but we called and requested, said, would you like to come on and talk with us about what's going on? His office never responded much. They didn't tell us, go stick it where the sun don't shine. We'll care about your piddling little show. You care less. No, not the case with Nancy Mace. We had her on all the time. And that's the same thing with Ossoff and Warnock. Ever since they got elected, tried to get them on the radio with us. Wouldn't come on.
I think that speaks volumes because I think when you're able to go on different shows and regardless of what side you're on,
exactly,
I think you're representing the people and when they're elected, they always say, I'm going to represent every Georgian. Mm-hmm. I'm going to, and when they refuse to go on shows, it really makes you think, Bill.
Yeah, that's what I told their office. I said, our political philosophies may be 180 degrees apart, but you're still our senator. And you need to be talking with us. Just like when Ted Cruz went on the View earlier this week. Go into the belly of the beast. Listen to what he has to say, even though they tried to shout him down a few times. But at the same time, it might be the first time that that audience heard that message.
Yeah, and I think it's really important.
That was one of the things that when Jesus was here, and everybody said, "Why are you hanging out with all the with taxpayers and all these other evil people?" And he said, "They're the ones who need help the most.
Exactly.
I came here for everybody."
Exactly. Isn't that why they say church is for the sinners?
Yeah, that's
right?
Exactly right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I did I did want to talk briefly about also the Quentin Simons case here.
We got some new information, about as new as you can get, because the local media has been as silent as the Sphinx on it, just regurgitating the same old stories, stuff that we already knew. But somebody blew the whistle, and not to local authorities, which I thought was strange, but Scott Rifen of WTKS here and WGIG in Brunswick, who now does a morning radio show, broke this story here. He's got an exclusive, and it comes from the Daily Mail. It's amazing how much American information we have to get from a London newspaper.
Yeah, well, I also saw it in the New York Post, and those were really the only two places that I really saw this story. So I thought that was interesting that we're not seeing it at the local level, but you're seeing it here.
So Leilani Simon, who is the mom and the only person of interest in the case, or suspect in the case, said the brother, was it?
No. It was the biological father.
Biological father. Mm-hmm. Said if you're, and the headline reads that if you're high as hell, you do stupid stuff. Grandmother of the missing Quentin Simon told the boy's father she believes he accidentally drowned in a bathtub while his mom, and passed away while his mom was high on drugs and her boyfriend were just out of their minds at that point. And so they're trying to cover it up. Threw him in a garbage bag or something in a garbage dump, because we've got forensic people looking through one of the landfills now. But I want to talk about the timeline, Brittany, on this landfill thing. How long is it going to take to find this kid? We're literally looking for a needle in a haystack, because how many more times did trucks go out once and dump stuff on top of him? How many more loads did they come in with? Before we finally decided that's where he might be.
Yeah, so, I can't even imagine, and
I can't either.
And I'm sure I don't know how much longer they're going to be out there. They've been out there. I think we're hitting 2 weeks out in the landfill.
Yeah, and he disappeared 3 weeks 3 weeks ago yesterday. So that's where we stand. So it's over a week. So how many times were trucks going out there dumping stuff on top of him, if indeed that's where he is? We still don't know, and we still don't know the full story. Leilani has been named as the only suspect in the case. They must have overwhelming evidence if that's so. But right now, the biological dad is speaking out, and he spoke out to the Daily Mail in London, and also the New York, which New York
Post.
New York Post. Mm-hmm. The only one that will really publish the truth.
Yeah. So. Still very, very sad. Still yes. Hoping for a conclusion on this to find out what happened to this little boy here in Savannah.
So there was a recorded phone call obtained by the Daily Mail at dailymail.com. Grandmother Billy Jo Howell is heard telling the boy's father she thinks that the toddler died in the bathtub, while mom and her boyfriend were high on drugs and completely out of it, over in La La Land someplace.
Well, that's why she didn't have custody of her children, correct? I mean, there was a reason for the grandmother having custody and not the mother at this point in time.
But why was the kid with the mother?
Exactly. I'm not really sure. I think in some of these cases, they're very complicated. And, I think that when she's living there with the kids, I don't know that really changes the situation for the kids that much. But, mm-hmm. I'm sure there are a lot of details that we're not aware of, but, very, very sad for these children.
Meanwhile, as we said, there was a debate last night between Joe Cunningham and Henry McMaster in the South Carolina race for governor, and that one has not been getting a whole lot of publicity.
No, I don't know how close it is, Bill. I haven't heard
I've seen no polls on it whatsoever.
I think either.
McMaster will easily be reelected.
Yes, I think we have a couple of clips from that as well.
Take a look and see how it went last night. So we'll get to it just as soon as we can. But of course, Governor Brian Kemp was here, and we'll have
taxes. Do you know the way before under Roe v. Wade? And quite pointedly, I trust women. I trust women to make their own health care decisions, and Governor McMaster doesn't. And that's the clear contrast between the two people you have on stage here tonight, because Governor McMaster wants to ban all abortions and have no exceptions for rape or for incest or even for the life of the mother.
Mr. Cunningham knows, no such bill is going to ever reach my desk. We've never had a bill like that in South Carolina. What Mr. Cunningham is for is pre-Roe, and as we know, that allowed abortions up to 24 weeks. That is 6 months. That is 6 months that Roe allowed abortions for any reason or no reason at all. That is the radical position. Cut taxes. Do you know that the income tax rates in South Carolina have never been cut before? We cut them this time from 7%, and it's going to go down to 6%. We've got more people working right now than we've ever had before.
We want to eliminate the state income tax because South Carolina has the highest state income tax rate in the entire Southeast. And with all due respect to Governor McMaster, he's had over 40 years in politics to eliminate it. You look around at states like Tennessee and Florida and Texas, they're seeing unprecedented economic growth. Folks, we can be that economic lighthouse for businesses that will either want to grow or expand into South Carolina. But we have to have new ideas and we have to have a new vision.
Don't you think it's interesting when he sounds like a Republican?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Did reality set in with old Joe?
I'm not sure.
I'm stunned. I am literally stunned that he's calling for no state income tax.
Well, I think the other thing, because it's a winning issue, right? I think that's the big thing. And I believe 100% that we should have no state income tax. I am definitely one of those people.
We're working on it.
Yeah, but I think that's the other thing. We have to figure out how to, change our spending in the state to be able to accommodate that, right? It's not just as easy as snapping your fingers and saying no income tax. That's not how that works. They have to have a plan. I do think it's good that they reduced it. I do think that, I didn't realize South Carolina was at 7% at one time. That is fairly high. I mean, I think we're at 5%.
We were at 5, yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully hopefully we'll get there too with no state income tax. And right now I think they're doing a good job in Georgia of balancing the budget. South Carolina, I'm not 100% sure. It sounds like they had a surplus as well. So, I mean, at least the states are running well.
Yeah.
Down here in the Southeast.
You got to look at the red states and the blue states as to how well they're run, who has surpluses and who doesn't. And Governor Brian Kemp, who we'll be hearing from very shortly, talked about how he's going to make it so that everybody benefits from that, and that you're going to get some of your money back again next year.
I love that. I love to get money back from taxes that we paid. I think the other thing to really contrast that with too, Bill, is that Stacey Abrams also wants to spend that money. She doesn't necessarily want to give it back. She wants to find a way to spend it.
Yeah.
So.
Because that's all the Democrats know how to do.
Spend money.
Tax and spend money.
Well, and she wants to also, if she does give it back, she wants to give it back to everyone equally, which I think is not the right thing. If you pay taxes, you should be the one getting that back. If you don't pay taxes, there's no reason for you to get a refund. I mean,
but government does that.
but I don't understand it.
You got to have skin in the game. Everybody says that, but the lower income people say, well, they ought to be paying taxes as well, because they ought to have skin in the game. Maybe there'd be some different voting skew. The voting would be skewed if all of a sudden they realized they were having to pay taxes as well.
Well, I think that's the thing, Bill. We either all pay taxes or we all don't pay taxes. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I don't think that there should be this. I think we should go to a flat tax if that's the case, or a fair tax. There are a lot of options for us to resolve a lot of this. However, we've gotten ourselves in a situation now, Bill, where we're trillions of dollars in debt, and so we have to figure that out first before we can start reducing taxes.
Fair tax is the way to go, and Nancy Mace has talked about this on the campaign trail. The penny tax, the penny tax. It is the reduction by a penny of every government agency. You look at how many dollars they are allocated, and you take a penny out of each one of those dollars, and within 15 years, you've balanced the budget.
Well, then let's make it 5 pennies. let's get there faster. I do think that we need to lean out some of these state-run agencies. And I told you, I think our when I went to get my driver's license, the DMV was run pretty smoothly here. Mm-hmm. So I was pretty impressed, but I do think that there are things that we can do to lean out some of these processes and also some of these departments to where we can have more balanced budget and we don't have to pay as many taxes and we can get ourselves out of debt. So many things, Bill.
For sure. All right. Coming up next,
we are going to be seeing what the governor had to say here last night in Savannah.
Governor Brian Kemp.
I'm Herschel Walker, and I approve this message.
I admired Herschel from the beginning. Herschel has always been challenged about doing things that people thought he wasn't capable of doing. He wants to be the best, and he has striven to do that, disciplined himself to do that, falls sometimes along the way, but he gets back up, and with his incredible drive and self-discipline, he has achieved mighty things. He's a real patriot of this country. He loves the United States of America. He also is realistic that it can be better. He is not a, quote, politician. There is a need in this country. There is need in this state for somebody like Herschel. Knowing him, the character that he has, he will make a great United States Senator.
Say no to T-SPLOS.
That's right, no.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is your governor speaking. Today's training evolution, dogfighting, taking on the corporate media. The rules of engagement are as follows. Number 1, don't fire unless fired upon, but when they fire, you fire back with overwhelming force. Does it say that in the bill? I'm asking you to tell me what's in the bill. Number 2, never ever back down from a fight.
If I could complete the question, though.
So you're going to give a speech or ask a question? Number 3, don't accept their narrative. It's wrong. It's a fake narrative. I just disabused you of the narrative, and you don't care about the facts. It's why people don't trust people like you, because you peddle false narratives. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's jump up.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
And a happy Thursday to you. Boy, I'll tell you, I have never seen a politician grow into a job more than Ron DeSantis, and what a great job he's done. He's gonna clean Charlie Crist's clock.
Oh yes, he has done a great job, and you know, Fetterman's lucky that he didn't have to debate someone like DeSantis. He would have been, that would have been really bad. I mean, it was bad, but.
And I'll tell you, Mehmet Oz was a perfect gentleman. He didn't mention his. Talk to any about his medical issues or anything of that nature.
He didn't attack his character. None of that.
Nothing. He stuck straight to the issues.
Yes.
Except everybody thought that was pretty good, except the girls on the View, that he was bullying. Fetterman.
It's a debate. Come on, guys. Like, it is what it is. He has to defend his position, and you know, unfortunately, you and I talked about this. I feel bad for him because, I mean, his wife should put an end to that. Like, she should want her husband to rest and get better.
Pox on both your houses in the DNC. For the Democrat Party should be ashamed of themselves, putting this guy up. All they want and all they're looking for is a yes man to Chuck Schumer and his Confederates. And that's what they're going to get if you get John Fetterman up there. He's not up to the job. No. And when he had to have closed caption, and even then he couldn't, you could tell that he was having a big struggle. But we got a great governor here in Georgia, and even though we're 12 days out and it looks like Governor Kemp also has a pretty big lead over Stacey Abrams, he's taking nothing for granted. He's on the campaign trail. He was here in Savannah yesterday, and we have this is his remarks at the Forest City Gun Club and the fundraiser that they had yesterday afternoon. He's not going to stop till it's all over.
Jesse Petrie. I appreciate former Congressman Jack Kingston. I appreciate Commissioner Pat Farrell. I appreciate your former district attorney, Meg Heaton. I know there's a lot of other people out there. I know I saw the sheriff here. Sheriff, thank you for your support, but just so many people that have been with us here, and it's so appropriate to be at the Brian Kemp for Governor Kemp fundraiser with people shooting shotguns in the back. I just hope nobody points one of those at us like the other side said. I got that question the other night, by the way. It's great. Listen, I want to thank y'all for being here. I know Steve talked about Marty and the girls. We have been getting up every single morning. We only got to do that, y'all, for 12 more days to make sure Stacey Abrams is not going to be our governor or your next president. And I just appreciate you all chopping wood with us. Congressman Buddy Carter just got here. Buddy, thank you. Raise your hand. Thank you for your support. Thanks for being here. Listen, y'all, we're in the fight for the soul of our state. Steve talked about that. Jesse talked about that. But look, y'all already know that. And we're doing good in our state when our country's doing bad because we said no to Stacey Abrams. You know, when she criticized me for reopening small parts of the economy that we had closed to help stop the spread, flatten the curve, build PPE supplies and hospital bed capacity, I wasn't listening to her. I wasn't listening to people on both sides of the aisle that were giving me a hard time about that decision. I wasn't listening to the national media. I certainly wasn't listening to the Atlanta media. I was listening to you all. And that's what I told you right here in front of that fireplace in 2018, that I would put you first ahead of the status quo and the politically correct. And that's what I've done. And I've done that in tough political times, when a lot of other politicians around the country would not do that. They would not stand up and fight for their people. I did an interview before I came out here, and they said, what's your closing message to people? And I said, look back 2 years and ask, who was fighting for you? Who was fighting for your family? Who was fighting to get your kids back in the classroom? It was us. It wasn't Stacey Abrams. She was criticizing us for doing those things. She thought it was too early to reopen small parts of our economy, even though most of the economy in Georgia was running just fine. She thought we were acting too fast and dangerously getting our kids back in the classroom. You know who she was listening to? Randy Witherington, who's the head of the National Teachers Union, who gave her $1 million campaign contribution. She wasn't listening to the parents. She wasn't listening to the athletic directors and the teachers and the administrators and the superintendents that I was talking to at the state capitol that were telling me, Governor, we got to get his kids back in school. We're going to lose a generation of these kids because they're not in the classroom. And when they're not in the classroom, we can't recruit them to be on the ball field or in the band or cheerleading or track or whatever it is. But you know who is recruiting them? The street gangs are. That's who we were listening to. Stacey Abrams was following the political winds that were blowing 2-3 years ago. We were fighting for our people. She did the same thing 2 years ago when they had the bright idea, along with a lot of other liberal friends on the left and other places around the country, and started talking about the idea of defunding the police. She also said in 2018, and nobody really picked up on this then, that she wanted to eliminate cash bail. And she continues to this day to sit on the boards of organizations that are paying her to approve grants to give to organizations that are pushing to defund the police movement. Sheriff, you should know, and any other law enforcement person should know, that as long as I'm your governor, we are standing with you. We will be shoulder to shoulder with you on the front line. We have your back, and we are not going to defund the police. 60% She helped him get elected. He gives her credit for that, and she's taken it. She auditioned to be his vice presidential candidate. These are the policies that she would bring to Georgia. This is why we're in a fight for the soul of our state. Thankfully, because of people like Jesse Petrie and other state legislators, we've been fighting to help hard-working Georgians, especially working Georgians, to fight through Joe Biden and Stacey Abrams' 40-year high inflation. By returning $1 billion of your tax dollars to put back in your pocket, just to help you get by when you go to the grocery store, when you're paying 30% more for eggs and 15% more for milk and 17% more for chicken. We have suspended the gas tax in this state since March. $800 million of savings and counting for our families, small business, helping you fight through 40-year high inflation. So my message to people in the clothes that aren't or undecided is look and see who is really fighting for you. Look and see who you will trust to fight for you in the future. Because you send us back, we're going to do another $1 billion tax refund because we had another good year last year. We're going to put more money in your pocket. You know, Joe Biden promised we wouldn't have a vaccine mandate, and we got one. I can't remember how many lawsuits we've won now pushing back on that, but it's a lot. But he also promised us he wouldn't raise taxes on hard-working Americans, middle America, working Americans. And he's done that now, breaking promises. Well, last year, in the middle of a global pandemic, because you were resilient, and we simply gave you the opportunity to make the decision on whether you wanted to go to work or not, or open your business or not, or get your kids back in the classroom or not, we had record revenues, and we fully funded the government. And instead of creating big government programs with one-time money like Stacey Abrams wants to do, we're going to send that money back because we trust you more than the government how to spend that money to help your family. You know what she's going to do? She's going to create, she's not going to do this because we're going to beat her. But if she were, she would create these big government programs, just like they're doing in Washington, D.C. And when the one-time money runs out, you know what they're going to do? They're going to raise your taxes, just like Joe Biden just did. We're having record revenues in our country right now. Buddy Carter knows exactly what the number is. And they are raising taxes on the back of working Americans. But also know, because our economy's doing so good and you all have been so resilient in this state, that your property values are going up. Mine have too, which means your property taxes are going up. And I know a lot of you have a local government like I do. I'm not talking about Pat Farrell, but there's some others that don't agree like we do. And a lot of local governments are not rolling the millage rate back to offset the tax increase. So you send Jesse and I back. We're going to do a one-time property tax relief grant. We're going to take $1 billion of one-time money. We're going to put it back in your pocket to help you deal with your tax bill. We believe that will save the average Georgia homeowner between 15 and 25%. But y'all, because we said no to Stacey Abrams, and we kept our economy open, and we had a good business environment in our state, we just broke ground yesterday on the largest economic development project in history just up the road from here. That is why we got to keep the team together. You look at the leadership that we've had in this state over the last 20 years. People like Nathan Deal, Sonny Perdue, Jack Kingston, what Buddy's doing right now, the partners that we have in the General Assembly. We have led this state well. It is prosperous. You look around the country, you had one person, the governor, in a lot of these states. They would not let you get up and go to work every day. They would not let you go to your place of worship even though you could gamble in their state. and they wanted to defund the police. That's why we're in a fight for the soul of our state. And listen, I can't remember if it was Jesse or Steve that said this, but they were wrong. Stacey Abrams is getting 90% of her money from outside the state. It's not 84 or 85. That was back in June 30th. Now it's 90%. So what y'all are doing tonight is helping offset that. And if you got friends that haven't given us anything, just try to get them to go to BrianKemp2022.com and give us a little something. It'll help our ground game the next few weeks to get the vote out. That side, they have unlimited pocketbooks. Just tell them it'll make them feel good to cancel somebody from California or New York. You know, we're always the ones getting canceled. Tell them they have the opportunity to cancel them. Because they are trying to bring their values to our state, y'all. They're trying to bring it here through their money and through their candidate, who is Stacey Abrams. They have one small problem. Those people don't vote here, and you do. And that's why we got to get the vote out. I just saw Tyler Harper. Tyler, raise your hand. So Tyler Harper, State Senator Tyler Harper's running for Agriculture Commissioner. I want to thank Tyler for being here tonight. Y'all vote for him. Also want to mention Majority Leader John Burns. Where's John? John Burns, Chairman Ron Stevens. Sorry, Ron was one of the first people I saw when I got here. I'm getting a little wound up over here. Ron, appreciate you. Thank the Lord for our First Lady, keeping me straight. As I was saying, that money doesn't vote here, but you all do. And at the end of the day, they're not counting the money. They're counting the votes. And we got to get more votes than they do. We also got to get 50% plus one more votes than they do. So we cannot believe any polls, all that stuff about, oh, you're doing good, you got this. Don't believe that. That is the media trying to lull you to sleep. Don't believe it. We only got 12 and a half days to go, as Marty would say. Just keep working. Just do your part. We're not asking you to move a mountain. We're just asking you to do your part. Make sure your family's going. Make sure that uncle you don't like votes for us anyway. Make sure your friends, people you're working with, people you're worshiping with, people you're socializing with, there's 200,000 to 300,000 of our voters that don't vote in non-presidential years. We cannot allow that to happen this year. Don't take for granted that your folks are going to vote that you know. Ask them, put them on the spot. Tell them how important it is. Tell them what would happen to our state if we do not perform on November the 8th. And if we do that, we're going to bring this whole ticket across the finish line. And you're going to have a great team with Ron Stevens, and Tyler Harper, and John Burns, and Jesse, and everybody else that I've missed tonight. We're going to go back and keep working hard for y'all. So let's keep chopping and getting the vote out, everybody. God bless you.
Gun Club, where, by the way, they have a terrific young gun organization, shotgun organization with our students.
Oh.
And they are winning national championships. They've won 3 national championships in a row.
Good.
Skeet shooters. And we're going to be doing some features on them as well coming up. Meanwhile, there's some stuff about vaping you need to know that the media doesn't want you to find out about, and I don't think the tobacco industry doesn't either, and neither does a lot of people in Congress.
Well, Bill, I was in studio watching this interview. Bill actually interviewed this guy from this organization, We Vape, We Vote, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was one of the people that was gaslit. I had no idea, Bill. No idea.
Vaping's not the evil they tell you it is.
Absolutely not.
You'll
Very
find
interesting.
out more next.
Yes.
On Get Real America. Welcome back to Get Real America. And there's an organization that I was not aware of just recently called We Vape, We Vote. And a gentleman is here representing that organization and others. Tim Andrews. Tim, welcome aboard. How you doing?
Thanks so much. It's great to be here.
Well, you kind of doing a southeastern swing or something like that. What's the story?
Sure. So this is a national tour. We've been visiting 13 states over the last 3 weeks. Despite the Australian accent, I have lived here for 10 years now.
Don't get rid of the accent. We love them.
Oh, thank you. So Americans for Tax Reform, which is a group that stands up for taxpayers and for individuals against big government. We've partnered with a few other organizations, CASAR and American Vape Manufacturers, and we are doing a national tour before the elections to try and tell politicians there are 20 million vapers in the United States, most of whom use these products to quit or reduce their smoking rates. There are a lot of politicians out there fed by this multi-million-dollar misinformation campaign, mainly funded by Michael Bloomberg, that want to go and ban these life-saving products. Well, Michael Bloomberg spent $300 million on this in the last couple of years.
Jeez.
Most of these people are trying to use these products to either quit or reduce their smoking rates. A lot of politicians want to take these products away from them. We're here to say that not only is supporting these consumers the morally right thing to do, it's also the electorally smart thing to do.
And you had a rally here this week with I congratulate you on getting this crowd together, because it's the first time I'd heard about the organization. But I have been so distressed over the government trying to tell us, tell free enterprise what to do. People are going to buy cigarettes. People are going to buy alcohol, and they can do it in moderation. Some people are going to abuse it like anything else. But at the same time, it's not the government's business to tell people if they start a legitimate business that a product that people want, that is, whether it's, and been, I guess you have some statistics to show it really is safe. I had a friend of mine that when I was working at a radio station here, he switched from cigarettes to vaping. Not only did he love it, it smelled a lot better because he was getting all these wonderful different aromas and things and different flavors. But he also said food tasted good again. And he was extremely pleased with how well he's still a vapor, and he's still alive and kicking.
So look, it was great to be here in Savannah. We had a great rally at a local store that's just a few minutes down the road from here yesterday, and it's just always so inspiring to hear the stories of people who quit smoking through vaping products, how their lives have been changed as a result. And you can't help but get heartbroken sometimes to hear these stories from people and then know that politicians want to take these rights away from them and to take these products away from them. So there are sort of three main arguments here. The first, as you said, is the freedom argument, that we now live in this society where we have so many politicians trying to tell you everything you can do with your life. You can do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, trying to regulate every single little decision, economically sort of trying to regulate everything, what you can do. And this isn't what the United States was built on. This wasn't why I moved here. We moved here because this is meant to be the land of freedom. And yet all of these freedoms, all of these rights this country was built upon, that made this country great, that made us so prosperous, have been completely stripped away. And this is yet another example as part of this bigger trend. Secondly, it's the economic argument, the fact that the country was also built on free enterprise. You have all of these entrepreneurs starting up all of these businesses to help people save their lives, and governments want to shut them down. You have now this situation where we've got with inflation going through the roof, thank you, President Biden and congressional Democrats. You have jobs losses constantly. You have this stagnation in terms of economic growth. Now's the worst possible time to try and force businesses to shut their doors and lay people off. And yet this is what people want to do. But the third argument, which is probably the one that I'm most passionate about, is the fact that the evidence very clearly shows that vaping is 95% safer than smoking. There have been hundreds of studies about this. The governments in the United Kingdom every year do a review of every single study, and they can come up with, on average, 95% safer. Replicated by everyone. 150 medical bodies show this, because it's not the nicotine that is that bad about cigarettes. I mean, it's about as bad for you as caffeine in coffee. It's not great, but it's not the main thing. It's the smoke. Like, it's the thousands of toxic chemicals. Vaping doesn't have that because it's vapor. There's no smoke, so there's no thousands of toxic chemicals. And according to Georgetown University Medical Center, they sort of ran the numbers on this. If a majority of American smokers made the switch to vaping, 6.6 million lives would be saved over 10 years.
Wow.
Now, just think about that amount, and think about the fact that, look at the costs over COVID. Look at the fact that, the economy shut down, all the taxpayer funding. We could save more lives here by far without costing the taxpayer a cent. It's a free market solution to a problem that would solve 6.6 million lives. All government needs to do is get out of the way, and instead government wants to stop this from happening.
Yeah, Tim, the warning has been on cigarettes since I was in high school, and believe me, that's been a while. And so people should know that, that it's not really that good for you, but yet they sue, people are suing I wish I'd have known I'd get lung cancer if I was smoking for 25 years or 30 years. And the worst part about it is that not only do they have these warnings on there, now the government wants them to put pictures of diseased lungs on the package. So what if we went to a car dealership and put up signs of car wrecks and showing dead bodies and body parts all over the street and blood everywhere, and saying, this is what could happen if you buy this product?
So we have these in Australia, where I'm from, and I've done a lot of work looking into these, because you're absolutely right. And in fact, I think we're going to see this in other products as well. I think they're out there saying we want this for fast food, for alcohol, and all of these products. Car dealerships probably will, because, we need to ban cars, apparently, because they're terrible for the environment.
Except electric cars.
Except electric cars, yeah.
Those are great.
Yeah, except the fact that, where do we get electricity from?
And it's not free, by the way, either.
But you look at the evidence behind them, and they don't actually reduce smoking rates. You see some of the most dishonest studies where they will say, this is a great success. We have seen that intention to quit goes up. And then buried in a footnote, actual quit results don't matter. And in some places, people think, hey, this is actually looking pretty cool. It makes me look bad. I'm going to smoke more. What this shows, and what we have learned from public health over the last couple of years, is this isn't about health. This is about control. What we have is people who want power for themselves, because they are the new high priests of the religion of public health, and they think they should run their lives, and they don't want you running their lives because they think they are better than you. This is the new sort of aristocratic elite, this sort of the high priests that want to run everyone's lives. And the reason they hate, I think, vaping so much is for the last couple of years, they've tried things like those packets. They've tried things like, taxes, regulations, all of these command and control, big government things, and it hasn't worked. It never works. Here, the free market has come up with something that is a solution that works, that around the world works, that, as you say, there's one reason people are doing is it smells better. It tastes better. You don't have that stink of cigarettes. Yeah. This is a really important reason that adults are quitting. And so what are a lot of Democrats say? We need to ban flavors. Okay, why? So I think they want more people to smoke cigarettes and die rather than admit that they are wrong. And this is the truly horrific thing, because in some ways it's fun to laugh about, but lives are at stake here, and you have people who so self-interested in wanting their power and their control that they're willing to sacrifice lives and sacrifice businesses and sacrifice, the rights of Americans. And this really is quite tragic.
It is indeed. And you had, like we said, you had a rally here yesterday. We take a look at, we had to have a little clip of that and take a look and see how things went yesterday, or earlier this week, we should say. And it had a pretty nice turnout. How many people were? Any idea how many?
I think through about 50 people came throughout the day. A lot of people would come. They would sign the bus. They would leave. We did a lot of other sort of small little events for them. But we were really, really encouraged by the hospitality here and just hearing people's stories.
Mm-hmm. Let's take a look and see how it went this week. Okay. Well, we'll get to that. Get to that a little bit later. But at the same time, what's the reaction that you're getting? Are you getting any people that are coming out and saying, what are you doing?
It's interesting how many people we get just coming in on the streets. Like when we stop at a Walmart to do our grocery shopping, people would come up, would strike a conversation with them. Mm-hmm. We would educate them because a lot of them have. When somebody like Bloomberg spends $300 million telling people this is bad, and you actually read his interviews, he does this because he thinks this will, and this is true. Bloomberg has said this. He will get a pass straight into heaven and bypass the pearly gates because he's doing so much humanitarian work.
Doesn't work that way.
You have so much misinformation that I was a couple of days ago. I took a quick break from the tour to go to visit DC just to help my wife out with the family so that she wouldn't do everything without me for the 4 weeks of the tour. But I was getting something at the store, just some dinner at the bar, and I got a conversation with people. They just moved. They were an army family. They just moved to our neighborhood. We started talking, and he was telling me how he successfully quit vaping with smoking. Mm-hmm. Why? Because he believed all of this media misinformation, all of these campaigns that vaping was worse for you than smoking. And so he's now gone to something that is 95% worse because he listened and believed all of this misinformation by these really, really well-funded special interest groups trying to ban these products.
Well, Tim, they get a lot of help from the media too, because first, when one of those vaping devices catches fire or does some sort of damage to somebody, just like when a car gets beat up in a car wreck, they want to make a big deal. See, this is what's going to happen. This thing's going to blow up in your face and kill you, or maim you for life.
The irony is that most of the ones that are badly made, they're all the illegal ones that people will get over the internet coming in from China because they're trying to shut down the legal ones. So also we saw about
China. Who knew?
We saw also, like 2 years ago, the media ran all of these stories about people getting lung injuries from vaping. Mm-hmm. The thing is, what they didn't tell you was none of them were to do with nicotine vaping. Not one. It was illegal THC, so sort of marijuana vape products, which were made on the black market, made illegally, laced with vitamin E acetate, which is what caused all of the lung injuries because you were inhaling this oil that just clogged up your lungs.
Oh, God.
This is completely different to a nicotine vape, which doesn't have any oil in it. But the media ran with all of these scare stories. And as a result, businesses shut down. We were talking to someone that in Charleston yesterday, who, when all of these media stories came out, they just lost so many customers and they had to shut their store down before COVID because of this misinformation. And you point the facts to the media out, shocking in this like in so many other areas, you point to them all of the academic research, you point to them all of the studies, you point to them all of the evidence, they just refuse to run it because they have an agenda.
Mm-hmm. Good. And then you'd get the YouTube crowd that would say, "Hey, we can't. You're passing out misinformation." I've talked to a lot of people who don't know that vaping has most of their products do not have nicotine in them, and they just smell nice.
And a lot of people use nicotine-free products, and what a lot of people do is they start smoking, then they start combining, cigarettes with nicotine vapes. Mm-hmm. Then it's just vapes, and then they reduce their nicotine content until zero nicotine. And it's a process. It's different for everybody. And this is the great thing. These provide so many solutions. We try and tailor things. This is the beauty of the free market. You go to that vape store and they've got hundreds of different flavors, and what works for you as an individual is what works for you. Compare this product to this government-run, we will give you this one patch. That doesn't work, sorry. I was in an interview with, I was in an FDA hearing, and there was someone from one of them anti-vaping groups, the one that has an annual budget of like $1 billion a year, with a B. And she was asked in the FDA, and she was like the vice president of communications or something, high up in this $1 billion organization. And she was asked, well, if a smoker wants, and essentially said, and if they can't quit through smoking. And her response was, well, they should just try again or whatever. Like, here we have this proven method of working, which is based on these free market individual principles of choice. If their sort of one-size-fits-all solution doesn't work, they just don't care. It's that, I'll just try again or whatever, is their response.
And they probably get a six-figure salary or better.
Oh,
and
at least.
You hope their paycheck is gift-wrapped. So what do you want people to know? Where can they go for more information and get the truth, for God's sakes?
If you visit the website, it is wevapewevote.org. You can follow us on social media.
Not .com.
Not .com. On social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, we're at Save Vape. You'll be able to get links to the rallies. We've only got one more left in Jacksonville tomorrow, but there'll be all of the science, all of the links, all of the evidence will be there, so you can inform yourself, so you can inform others that if you know somebody who's a smoker who's interested in these sorts of things, if you're not one yourself, talk to them. But the most important thing is also to try and show, with this, like with everything, it'll be nice if politicians do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. That would be lovely.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're living on the Big Rock Candy Mountain,
unfortunately, though, that never happens. So what we need to show is not only is it the right thing to do, if all they care about is getting re-elected, then this will help them get re-elected. Because if people think their lives depend on a product, one candidate wants to take them away, one candidate wants to preserve them, they're going to vote one way. And we've got the polling to prove it. And in fact, Senator Johnson from Wisconsin came and joined us on a tour again.
Oh, good for him.
He was with our tour in 2016. And the day after, the night of the election, he came out and said in 2016, he was a come-from-behind victory.
Yeah.
He came out on election night and said he got elected on the basis of the vaping vote. And so we're trying to replicate that around the country.
All right. God bless you, Tim. Keep up the great work. You're doing the Lord's work and standing up for free enterprise, that's for sure. Thank you so much for being here. Yes, sir.
For having us.
All right. We'll be right back.
He was so interesting to talk to. I was also able to talk to him off air, which, man, I feel like I grilled him, but he had so much information, and I was very, very curious about his mission.
Tim Andrews and We Vape, We Vote, and once again, where they are trying to interfere with free enterprise system. And imagine you invest in a product that it's legal to be sold, and has not been shown to be harmful, in at least in moderate quantities, and you do a lifetime investment. We've got people up in Washington now, or people in office, who have never run a business a day in their lives, not even a lemonade stand. We've got a president who thinks that one of the big things that you're worried about is whether or not you can get another 6 inches of space on an airliner.
Oh my gosh, that was ridiculous.
Rather than cut taxes and go after our own oil or something important like that, when he had a press conference yesterday saying that all these junk fees that you're being charged, hadn't got a clue as to how free enterprise works. And that's where the government gets its money. So you put your life savings and you work hard in these businesses, and all of a sudden the government says, oh no, you can't sell that anymore.
Yeah, and I think that that's the thing that people need to realize is that government regulation, they shouldn't be allowed to do all the regulating that they're doing. I mean, what business is it of theirs? I mean, we let people drink themselves to death, don't we? I mean, we allow it. It's a personal choice.
You know, my dad was in the outdoor advertising business, and when Lyndon Johnson was president, his wife, Lady Bird, decided that she wanted, to beautify America, and one of the things she wanted to do was get rid of billboards. And told the outdoor advertising industry that and so they had to start moving billboards back, and they spent millions of dollars having to move billboards back further from the highway. So they had to make bigger billboards and things of that nature. But they came up with an editorial, an op-ed that ran in a bunch of newspapers around the country at that time. Said, when will it be your turn to be legislated out of business?
Exactly. I mean, why do they feel like it's necessary? Especially, I think the other thing is that they're legislating based off personal interest or lobby interest. They're not obviously legislating off of facts or, helping people in America be healthier.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fact that it's 95% safer than smoking, that was news to me. I had originally thought that, like he said, you had heard all of the things about vaping, but it was actually related to black market THC oil-based vaping. And of course, it is harmful. But the other vape, it's legal, it's safe. And, I asked him, I said, so there's no risk to vaping? And he said, well, of course there is. He's like, there's a risk with everything. He's like, so if you're not vaping now, probably not a benefit for you. But if you've been smoking and you switch to vaping, huge reward for you.
Sure. There's a risk to fried chicken.
Driving your car every day. I mean, there's a risk in everything.
Exactly. So there's always a risk.
Yes.
And but you do, like anything else, you do it in moderation. There's a risk to drinking too much. We have an update on the Quentin Simon story here today. That looks like perhaps he drowned in a bathtub while his mom and her boyfriend were high on whatever it was. The former, her ex-husband, the boy's biological father, is saying that he believes that the kid drowned in the bathtub while these two were on high, and said that Leilani was a cheater, that she was always snorting cocaine and smoking marijuana and things of that nature, and she was basically should have been an irresponsible mother. And that's why the grandmother took custody of her. But then the grandmother goes out of town and leaves the kid with Leilani. And she, so far, is the only suspect in the case. So there's at least that update. And none of the other TV stations in town have any updates on that. But the Daily Mail got a copy of it, and also a video of the father talking to his mom, Leilani's mother-in-law, about and the grandmother in the case. That was his suspicion, and that's the way he feels about it. And that they, rather than just call the police, he said when you're high, you do stupid stuff, and said should have called the police right away and reported it and just take the consequences there, rather than be charged with murder or be one of the murder suspects, because Leilani now says that she's being harassed by these people that are coming by and calling her a baby killer and everything else. Well, I don't go along with those protesters. Let's wait and see what the real case is. The truth will eventually come out one way or the other. So, but we'll have an update. Hopefully by next week we will know a little more.
Yeah, absolutely. And switching gears a little bit, Musk. I think the deal's going to go through with Twitter. I think it's happening.
Yeah, Elon Musk is going to buy Twitter, and he's all ready for it, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I think he said something about a sink.
Yeah. So.
He has quite the.
So he's got everything but the kitchen sink.
Or
maybe he's got the kitchen sink.
Or maybe let that sink in. I think was what he was going for. But he has quite the personality on him, Bill. I will say he loves to joke around. He loves to maybe ruffle some feathers. So I really like that about Elon Musk.
Well, he believes in free speech.
I really love that about Elon Musk.
Yeah.
So Twitter might get. With a kitchen sink. So pretty funny.
So let this sink in.
Yes, let this sink in, because it's happening. He is purchasing Twitter. I know that there's been a lot of controversy around it. I don't think people are super happy that work there, because I don't know that they actually work. I saw a video of a gal walking through the Twitter headquarters. They have like a yoga studio, they have coffee, they have all of these things, Bill. So I think they're in for a rude awakening when Elon Musk takes over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have coffee here too. So
yeah.
we don't make six-figure salaries, however.
No.
But and one other thing that I want to kind of a positive note, as sad as it is, Chatham County yesterday here in Savannah, there have been unclaimed cremated remains of relatives over the years, dating back to the 1940s.
Oh, wow.
That our coroner and other medical people have had to either, they can't find who the relatives are, they can't find out where they are, they've been unclaimed, and they had a mass, had a burial for them yesterday here in Chatham County at Bonaventure Cemetery, and I thought that was a very nice gesture, that they said these people are finally going to be laid to rest, and they've identified as many as they can, and it's I think that's that's something that the coroners here have been working on for quite some time. I remember doing features on that one on my radio show.
Oh, wow. Well, it's a good conclusion to a sad ending, right?
It is.
And also make sure you go to the city council meeting tonight. Really, really important stuff going on there. Calhoun Square, they're trying to rename it. Mm-hmm. Go support the people that live on Calhoun Square that don't want it changed. So go to the city council meeting. It is today at 6:30 p.m. Don't miss it. Get involved.
Erasing history is not the way to go.
Absolutely not. And I think we are a little over time today, so we are going to wrap it here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week.
Yep. Check us out on YouTube, Vimeo, GREnewsmedia.com, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Get real. And remember our motto, you can't spell Democrat without RAT.